a work can be political or the work can be done politically. I believe that my work and what we are doing is done politically. Utter is a fruit of long research with tight collaboration with a lot of amazing group of people that we worked over a year and a half. It all came out definitely out of what the subtitle explains, embraces the violent necessity for embodied presence of hope. I think, as also Okwi has mentioned many times, and I couldn't agree more, we do live in very anxious times. Right now, I mean, what was anxious before and what is happening right now in Europe especially, I think it's going beyond any grasp of identity as a humanity that's defining the world as it is right now. I say frame because there's a distinct division of the words in a way. I don't see it as such, but still I think that a work can be political or the work can be done politically. I believe that my work and what we are doing is done politically. So it's not about genre, but it's about the approach and statement. So mainly as a starting point, I would say this. There's a very precise relationship between violence and politics. Violence should never exist in politics, should never be tolerated. But unfortunately, that is not the case. But when it comes to art, it all came out of a quote from Verlaine, what says the violent hope was in a poet. But in that case, in that poem, the violent hope was something that was looking inwardly. So it was his own poetic concern towards himself. In this case, violence is a violent necessity towards the outside. No? Violence as an emotion can and should exist in arts because it can be very constructive, because it can, kick you up and get you to do something that at the end then is constructive. I'm not saying violence in the sense of destroying everything, but violence as an opposition towards something that, on the other hand, as you said, in politics should never contain violence. If we look at the creative process, which it's definitely what the whole work is based on, and it's based on process, not on the product, the final product, but the process, where I'm not telling that the public comes in to see the artist working, but I use the process as a means of communication. Aggressive moments or violence in creative process can be very constructive because you can use anger in order to distillate this energy in something that at the end can become very inspiring and beautiful. What triggers you can be very violent, and I think especially immersed in what we see today, there can be any other reaction than a violent reaction, as again I said, that a violent opposing to what is happening. Utter as a structure is an instrument. So as an instrument it can be a beautiful object because it holds an option. It holds an option, for a musician, when a musician looks at an instrument, he can hear his own melody within it. So Utter for me, and I think for the most people that saw it, this is the way they relate to the object when it's in standby, so to say. Okay, so when it gets activated, of course, through performances, and the whole thing gets a different life. It's still, nobody can see the beginning, and nobody probably will see the ending of it, and that's the idea. So a visitor comes in almost by chance into one of the happenings, and I see that as my aim to relate art as close as possible to life. life in sense of as reality, no? So that what we do, what we live here, it's real, no? So and that's the feeling we want to communicate to the visitor. It's not an interactive work in that sense. It's not that we wait for reactions and then we build on reactions. Of course, the position of the public is very important within the work, and that's in general with what I do. It's, you know, my work doesn't exist. There's no eyes or ears to which you communicate. It's not relevant, okay? Because then you're just singing to yourself, and the things bounces, and you can just go nuts. So, but then again, I see it more like it's an immediate passage of the energy of the idea, which doesn't necessarily need me or any other performer to do so. As I said before, one can come in when it's just, you know, an echo of what just happened, and you can still grasp the tension in the space or the melody that it's slowly fading away, no? So then again, this is what I said before, it's my aim to construct and direct things as close as possible to how I concept reality as an art piece. It's a very logical step forward for what I was doing before. Still, if one would look at the project, or the biggest project before, which was Crystal Sea, could seem completely detached from reality. But in a way, it was a preparation for this. So I see them as chapters that involve. Sometimes a smaller project is just a chapter within a book, and then 3 projects together they form this book. Utter stands as a book on its own, definitely, for sure, because just the weekly structure and the script that we wrote with Ethan, and this repeating it 28 times. Now this is the duration of the whole Biennale. Now it's week 18, so we have 10 weeks to go. Definitely, you know, stands as completely autonomous, but I know where things come from before, or I see where I want to go afterwards, for sure. But right now, it's this. No, it's you know, I try. I really don't want to fall, and I'm let's say completely against this idea that you do a show only to do the next show. Okay, if we talk about shows, making shows are career moves. Okay, I love art for what it is, for what it can do, and for what it can give. So, and if you want to give anything, you have to be here and now, 100%. It's for the first time in the Arsenale, which is very positive. Especially because the Biennale is growing and growing, and